vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadayah.com.
Hey, welcome to the vlog on the vlog. It's our pleasure to welcome John back. John, we only have you back because I get to gloat about having more hair than you do and being, more than twice your age. So this is my way of feeling good about myself, I guess. No, we're just kidding. John has his own show as part of the yadayah.com website and the family page. He is Y2K. He is the host. It's a wonderful show. Great contributors. I understand, have just produced your second version of Jeopardy.
Yeah, our second episode of Jeopardy we just shot yesterday, so that'll be available next weekend for everybody to watch.
Okay, and it's your girlfriend that's doing the editing.
Yes, yeah, Dawn, my lovely girlfriend Dawn. She's been doing the editing for us since the beginning. So
okay,
yeah.
Outstanding. And we are going to get Dawn on the show one of these days.
That's the plan. We got to kind of ease her into it. She's very shy, but also a very well thought out and passionate person. So.
Well, I know something of introverted girlfriends and wives, and that Leah is the extreme of say she's not shy. She just doesn't feel comfortable around people. The general introvert. I don't think I'd feel very comfortable around people either if they treated me like this. This is one of the images. I think this is the twisted image of a real psychopath, Mel Gibson. Be like Mel, go to hell. He is. This, I think, is his passion of the Christ. Not much of a passion, and there was no Mr. Christ. And it's just astonishing to me that you have the most popular religion in the world that's based on torturing their God. And they revel in the torture device for their God. Not only did this religion create the most exquisite torture devices of all time and deploy them, of course, on God's people, but they torture their own God. And with their crucifix, they have a dead God on a stick, and they celebrate this. I mean, can you imagine actually being God and looking and seeing people lying about worshiping you, and as they torture you and they celebrate? Never once. And men cannot kill God. In fact, God cannot die. Yahowah inspired Chabauk to write that 666 years before Paul wrote his first letter, that being to the Galatians. What in the world is he talking about? You can't die, God. And men can't kill God. And yet the lie that men killed God is the cause of anti-Semitism. It is the reason the Holocaust happened. It is the reason Jews were tortured by Christians for the better part of 2,000 years. This is not just a reprehensible, ghoulish lie. It is the lie that upsets God more than anything men have ever done. Be like Mel, go to hell.
It really is the beast's personification of control. You either have, like you say, the Shiska god that they carry around in front of them with, like the Roman Achaia would, right? Okay,
right.
We killed God. This is an absolute reminder that this is the Roman Catholic, power that they're owning up to it. It's either the Shiska god or it's we gave birth to this god as well. It's the little defenseless baby, like you say. It is 100% a projection of their power, or their idea of power over the masses. Because you even look at St. Peter and St. Paul. One has the keys, one has the throne. God never figures into their message at all.
They gave the same guy their throne. And what's amazing about that is that the circumstances as to which he was granted the keys to heaven, and he is the rock upon which the church is built, wasn't actually in the Christian New Testament. It was added to both Mark and Matthew 300 years later, 3 centuries later, by Eusebius. There isn't a single reference to it, and it's the single most important line in Christianity, because without that line, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And then they reply, upon this rock I'll build my church. Without that line, there is no Christian religion. The whole concept of a Mr. Christ is moronic. There is no basis for it. And so without that line, Christianity doesn't exist as a religion. But when you include the line, you have to go to Eusebius, because he is the man that wrote it, that first appears in the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, both of which Eusebius owns up to writing on the order of Constantine. And then if you say, all right, so Eusebius wrote the line in the 4th century, but he was a really crappy writer. I mean, he was an absolute dunderhead, because he has that whole drama play out in the gates to hell, where Pan, the devil, was guarding the gates to hell. He claims that it was near a city that history said never even existed. He's also the one, by the way, that calls him Jesus of Nazareth, because Constantine's mommy wanted him to have come from Nazareth when she had visited in the 4th century. The only problem was Nazareth didn't exist in the 1st century. He is when you go back to that particular statement, not only does it take place next to a mythical city and in front of the most famous gateway into hell in the ancient world, he is at this point, Gospel Jesus is at this point just a week from his crucifixion, which means he has been with these alleged disciples for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And after 3 years, he has to ask them, who do you say I am? I mean, if you're a rational person, you got to say, okay, they've been waltzing around the paddock for 3 years. They've been following this guy, and not one of them ever bothered to say, oh, who are you, by the way? Mm-hmm. Not at one time. He is supposed to be, they're called disciples in Greek, although nobody spoke Greek in that part of the world at the time. But nevertheless, they're called disciples, and yet they learn nothing, because he must have taught them nothing, because after 3 years, he had never said, oh, by the way, I'm the Christ. And you know why he would never have said I'm the Christ? Because there is no prophecy about a Christ. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's no prophecy about a returning Messiah. The only reason that there is a perception that there would be a returned Messiah is because it exists in Judaism. It doesn't exist in the Torah and prophets. It's something the rabbis made up. And guess what Paul was?
A rabbi.
A rabbi. So Paul took the rabbinical myth of an arrival of a Messiah and applied it to this mythical creature that he designed as a counterfeit of Dowd, the actual Messiah and Son of God, who was genuinely the chosen one and king. And he just applied this to his myth, as if there was actually a prophecy of an arrival of a Messiah. But since there is no prophecy of the arrival of a Messiah outside of Judaism, he could not have been the Christ. That's why he was never referred to as such. That's why even in the Gospel Jesus account that Eusebius wrote, the first time that Shimon was the man's name, actually said this, the first thing that there'll be terrible consequences if you do. Mm-hmm. And now you have a religion that's called Christianity, that celebrates Christmas on behalf of a Mr. Christ. And the only response he had both times that he was called the Christ is he said, don't ever tell anybody that. There'll be dire consequences. And how in the world could you write something so stupid? Oh, yeah. And the next thing he says in the next breath is, get behind me, Satan. And then, then he claims that you'll have the keys to heaven after he says, upon this rock, I'll build my church. And yet in Eusebius's version, he's called Peter before he's named Peter. Now, how's that even possible? mean, nobody thinks these things through. It's the dumbest writing ever. And then there is no reference ever to kings to heaven. It's a completely made up concept outside of paganism. Talks, the translation says, I will build my church, and yet the word church never appears anywhere in the Christian New Testament. There's no Greek basis for it at all. The Greek that underlies what has been written as church is ecclesia. It means to be called out. And church, the closest thing to it in the ancient world was Shirshé, which is pronounced Shirsh, pronounced the same way. And she was the pagan goddess of the Germanic religion, where the sun was the chief and primary Lord.
Surprise, surprise, right?
Surprise, surprise, surprise. You got to play for a fool, Christians. And then you have your tortured God. This God was made up by Paul, and you're not smart enough to figure it out. Reverend Vitus and Mel Gibson, literally, you're going to hell.
Yeah, this idea that they can. There's many of this movie presentations of this story, right? I mean, it's the passion. It's all over, okay? And it's each one of them trying to one up each other as how gruesome they can get for modern audiences, because the Spartacus, one wasn't this gruesome. Even the one with I forget his name.
Oh, the crucifixion.
Anyway,
Spartacus. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is the Romans were not that. Were the Romans savage when they needed to be? Yes. Crucifixion by itself was savage enough. Crucifixion did not occur on a cross, capital or a lowercase t. It occurred on a cross that would be more like a capital T. So the whole Christian symbolism happens to be wrong. But they did not need to beat the victim with whips before they nailed him to that capital T structure. By the way, there was no cross that one could carry, because the upright was left inside of a recess in the limestone. All they did is put the upper lintel member on the top of it after they nailed the person to it. So that's pretty stupid. By the way, they even have, before he is crucified, they have pretend Jesus saying, "Pick up your cross and follow me." I mean, what kind of a ghoulish comment is that? You've got your God saying, before he is even crucified, why don't you pick up your damn cross and follow me? I mean, it's just unbelievably sick, this religion. And I wouldn't give a hoot if it were not for the fact of two things. It is this religion that created anti-Semitism, because they lied and claimed that that Jews killed their God. A, God's not a man. B, men cannot kill God. C, the Jews never crucified anybody. They were crucified by the Romans, but they never crucified anybody. So all three of those statements are wrong. And of course, there was no Jesus. The second thing that really bothers me is that there was a genuine Yehud. His name is Dowd, who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim as he had promised 555 years earlier as Gabriel, when he spoke to Daniel, on the exact date that he said he would fulfill it. And he wrote a personal first-person narrative 1,000 years before he endured it, of exactly how crucifixion would kill him 500 years before crucifixion even existed as a form of punishment. Of which he has his ghoulish, whatever that thing is, cite from that Mizmor, that song, even though it pertains to Dowd. And so the counterfeit Jesus is nothing but a blend of robbing Dowd, God's actual firstborn, his son, his chosen one, his Messiah, his king, and the one who actually fulfilled Passover, robbing the person that God cares the most about, and blending that with a heavy dose of Dionysus to create this mythical Jesus Christ piece of shit. And that is what that is. Good God, people, you've got your heads up your tuchus. So that doesn't
particularly disgusting, the everything tied in together with the sun god religion recycling and the usurpation of what Dowd and Yahowah accomplished. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, and the fact is, there's not a single accurate citation from Yahowah in the Christian New Testament. Every time they try to steal something that would give their myth credibility, they misquote it. 100% of the time, they've misquoted. And Paul, who created the religion and the myth, never once cites a single line from the gospel of Jesus, because between 10 and 40 years after Paul's death, which is why he doesn't ever cite them, because they didn't exist. It's really pathetic. Anyway, yeah, she's so close. She's so close. This is a 100-year-old Holocaust survivor. She's pretty good for 100 years old, doesn't she? And you'd have to be right around 100 years old now to be a Holocaust survivor, because you'd have to be, at least 5 in the 1930s, early 1940s. So she is saying, when I hear Trump speak, I hear Hitler all over again. When I see his rallies, it's like what I saw in Nazi Germany. Trump is a dictator. He's crazy like Hitler was. This is Mrs. Ruth Delray from Delray Beach, I would assume, Ruth Rosansky. I used to live near Delray Beach. If I was still in South Florida, I'd go look Ruth up. Like her name. She's close, but not quite there. Donald Trump is much worse than Adolf Hitler. Much. In fact, to compare the two is almost unfair. Trump's brown shirts, his ice, are far more out of control and brutal than were Hitler's brown shirts. Trump's speeches are far crazier, far deadlier.
That's a long one. You're breaking up a bit there, Rich.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was just me.
Mm-hmm. No. And it's the menorah is still spinning, so it's the camera or whatever's going to the
I'm sure it will pass.
To the StreamYard.
We just the stream outbound stream to.
Oh. All right, now I think we just came back. Yeah, it's frustration with I don't know if it's Starlink is the issue, or if it's StreamYard, but one of the two. And we're really fuzzy with our audio at this point. But what I was saying is that in every possible measure, Donald Trump is worse than Adolf Hitler. Well, we don't know for certain. I would assume that Hitler was demon possessed. We know for certain that Donald Trump is not just demon possessed, he is Satan incarnate. The prophets described him to a T. They told us when he would arrive, what country he would be the head of, and what he would do and what he would be like, and they nailed him. We've known this now, that he would be the president of the United States at this time. We've known for about 20 years. But I acknowledged when he won the last election that that ended all speculation. Donald Trump is the person that Christians refer to as the Antichrist. He is the living incarnation of the adversary. And so by the time that this is all done in 7 years, he will have killed of more than 10 and could be by a magnitude of 100 times more than died in World War II.
It's insane to think of the scale of that.
Yeah, Hitler mucked about on 3 continents. I think Trump's going to involve all 7. So
yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah, we're frozen again. Anyway, I just think that we are in a position where it's time to realize that the comparisons to Hitler are really not fair to Hitler. The comparisons to Nazi Germany are not fair to Nazi Germany. America with MAGA influence and Trump as Der Fuhrer.
Yeah, the amount of rhetoric that has picked up has been significantly disturbing, though.
Significantly disturbing. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's vile. I mean, everything the man says, demonic. And I'm not saying that because I don't like the man. I say this because that's what the prophets have revealed, and he has affirmed 1,000 times over that our realization and analyzing what the prophets had said is correct. He is the living embodiment of Satan. This is going exceedingly poorly, and he has already betrayed Israel and will continue to do so. Now, this myth that Israel controls Trump is nonsense. It's Israel's a vassal of Donald Trump, and he is going to be, according to Yahweh, their greatest single threat and the great betrayer of our time.
Yeah, we have a post a little later on about what he wants to do in Gaza, and it just overlays the Ezekiel measurement thing. I know that's in Jerusalem and everything, but it just expands from there. You know, I mean, he really thinks that it's free Palestine. So hey, it's free. I'm going to redevelop the place, right? You know, and he really thinks that he's going to make it a beachfront resort. You know, I mean,
yeah, I don't think he thinks, but I think he confabulates. That's for sure. There's no correlation between what goes on in his mind and reality, and therefore his mouth is completely unrelated to anything that's actually true.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about insofar as like I understand people, I don't know exactly 100% how official his dementia diagnosis is, but a lot of people speculated that. And it's just, I would think that the prognosis, you know, just looking at the guy is that I can't imagine how without the, you know, Satan riding jockey, so to speak, that he would actually be able to make it through the next 7 years.
Correct. Yeah, I don't think he has dementia. I just think he is literally demonic. I think it's just he's a vile, evil man. Now, is it true that he can't remember what he said at the beginning of a sentence to the end of the sentence? Yeah, probably so. But it's just because he's crazy. He's mad. Yeah, I would agree too that that was always the risk in naming Donald Trump as Satan incarnate, is how in the world would that POS survive? At that time, over 8 years, and now it's 7 years from now when he finally goes down on the 24th of September in 2033. I mean, by that time, according to the prophets, he'll be very long in days, which means he's a really old fart, and he'll be in a wheelchair, of course, with gaudy flaming wheels.
Yeah, you don't get the moniker Ancient of Days by being a whippersnapper. You know, that's
no. Well, this is really astonishing. I have two posts on this, and I verified it. It's true. Richard Fairbanks is the founder of Capital One, is a friend of mine, and really an honorable man. And it was in a remarkable company. I've studied the whole history of Capital One and how what he did in creating Capital One, which is that he realized that in the credit card business, which is what they do. My favorite credit card is the Capital One card. Is that what you want if you're going to solicit is you want a card holder that very seldom, if ever, pays their bill off, and yet never welches on their bill. So this golden area.
Enter the 850.
Yeah, but never going to run away from their debt either. And that is because the interest that they can charge and the fees they can charge under those circumstances. And so typically solicit, and that is what their model is designed to run on. Now, while they made a fortune on that model, and it's a very good model, it certainly works, best services overwhelmingly of any credit card company, the most honorable credit card company. I also have a Citibank. I'll go to hell. I mean, I think that Citibank is nothing but a group of thieves. Capital One's a very honorable company, so I'm not surprised that they did this. Credit card issuers and banks are now deputized by the U.S. government. It's very much like the accountants that do your taxes. They have been deputized by the U.S. government, where if they don't turn in somebody who is who does something that they think is against the IRS rules, and they can be convicted right along with the person who committed the crime. And it's a way of really turning the accounting industry and bankers against their clients so that they actually become agents of the U.S. government. Now, in this case of Capital One and banks, they are required to show and have reasons and the ability to investigate money laundering, because money laundering is the world's most egregious crimes. Sex trafficking requires money laundering. The sale of illegal drugs requires money laundering. The sale of illicit arms to terrorists and rogue nations requires money laundering, and the bribes and that sort of thing, government graft, require money laundering. And so where there is money laundering, there are far more egregious crimes taking place, because that is how they cover up those crimes. And there are very sophisticated tools that banks not only can use, but must use, because throughout the years, banks wanted to have the money of these individuals. Like the banking industry in South Florida was largely built on the money laundering operations of cocaine dealers. And so when the feds recognized the amount of money that the banks were making by keeping the money of the cocaine dealers in particular and the human traffickers in South Florida, they made it a crime for the banks themselves. And so that got their attention. And so now the banks are not only motivated, but they have the tools to ascertain who is money laundering, and they have to shut down those accounts. Capital One did 300 bank accounts for Trump and company, where they have proof that he was laundering money. Now he's laundering money because he's stealing the proceeds of the oil that is taken out of Venezuela. He is laundering money because he is stealing what is going to and from the Arab fiefdoms in the Middle East that he has constantly meets with. And his sons and his family short commodity stocks like oil based upon insider trading. He even set up now $100,000 deal where you can get his tweets an hour before anybody else so that you can benefit from insider trading. Now, that happens to be a crime punishable by a significant jail time. And so Capital One has determined that Donald Trump and company laundering money. It's a very, very serious crime.
300 bank accounts. This is not five. This is not five with a couple million in there. I mean, 300 bank accounts. And I'm telling you, each of these accounts is definitely not FDIC insured, right? They're well over the FDIC limit. I mean, so.
It also makes me think about those meme coins. Like they had like a Trump coin and a Melania coin, and they did such a pump and dump on that, where they essentially it ended up dropping 99% of its value from its peak. And it's just, it is darkly comedic all of his followers pumping all of that
Yeah.
money into it just for him to exploit
Yeah.
them that way.
It's like his Bitcoin deal. He's made tens of billions of dollars, and everybody else has lost hundreds of billions of dollars. He's a grifter. He is the con and thief. I mean, it's just repulsive. Poops in his pants is a hideous man. And the fact that now MAGA has actually lost 15% of its support in the last few months. So 15% of MAGA support was at 39%, still stayed pretty much rigidly at 39%, saying that MAGAs are absolute morons and incapable of being moral or thinking. The most recent polls have support for Donald Trump down in 32%. So to go from 39, which is pure MAGA, because the undecideds all left him 2 years ago, year and a half ago. That means that 15% of his base has peeled away. Doesn't make them smart. It just makes them less stupid than the rest of that base. But this is a really, really tough one for him to overcome. Of course, he's doing his normal thing. He has the Justice Department under his control, so he is now suing Capital One, claiming that he was dropped for being conservative.
That's how this came out. That's how this came out, was him starting being the plaintiff in a court case against them.
Yes,
he was claiming that they did it because of political reasons.
But Capital One is a credit card issuing bank. There is no politics associated with a credit card issuing bank. My card is blue, but it could be. They have a red card too. They have a black. They really don't have a politic. They have a business algorithm that they run on. And I can assure you that of all of the employees that Richard Fairbanks hired, that he did not interview them and say, which political party are you in favor of?
Yeah.
That was never one of his questions. How good are you at math? Would have been high among them. How are you? Yeah, he really had a wonderful esprit de corps with his employees, but it has nothing to do with politics. That's just all in this a-hole's mind. But what a disgusting thing. So we knew, and I posted over a year ago, that in the first few months that Trump had received bribes of over $20 billion from the Arab fiefdoms. And it's just since then. Robert Pape is an interesting fellow. He is a scholar, and he is so far now the last standing Mohican.
Yes, he is.
In a post that we'll probably play later, finally joined the rest of the gross anti-Semites in his post that we have today. He was the professor from Chicago. I have not heard Robert Pape go to that point yet. So he's not vying for popularity. He's about as charismatic as a wallpaper drawing. So we'll play this. But the fact is that he is one of the very few people who puts in writing what he perceives is going to happen, and then he sticks with it. And he says, "This is what I said was going to happen," and he will reference the written prognosis that he revealed 6 months, 12 months, or a year earlier, and say, "Yep, it's happened exactly as I said." So far, he has been 100% accurate on the Trump war with Iran. And this is just another example of where he's saying that without any equivocation, that America's position and the world's position relative to Iran is irreversible. That Trump has made a disaster of this, and that while Trump would love to, America would love to get back to where we were before the war began, there's no way to do that. The outcome of the war is Iran won and America lost, and there is no way of reversing that. So you can go ahead and play it.
We are in a escalation trap. We're not just seeing escalation, we're seeing it grow horizontally, and we're seeing Iran now initiating attacks, not just on the receiving end. This is an escalation trap. And by a trap, I mean the United States started this war and is now in a strategically worse position and is trying to simply get back to even. What would it take to get this war to end? Wars end when the main combatants agree on the new balance of power. This war has upended the balance of power in the region that existed before the war. Before the war, America was the ascendant power, Israel the rising power, and Iran the declining power. Now all of those lines are reversed. And Iran thinks it won the war and it should be in control of Hormuz and have large influence in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East it did not have before. The United States is trying to reverse its defeat and is not accepting the new status quo.
There you go. That's why Trump has these dreams once every other week that Iran has begged him for an agreement, and that the agreement has Iran giving up control of the Strait of Hormuz, not asking for reparations, not wanting their own money back, and agreeing that they will turn over all of their enriched uranium. And it's all untrue. I mean, he can't resolve the mess he made, and so he's with propaganda trying to convince people otherwise. And the only thing that's surprising to me is that the mainstream media continues to parrot what he has to say, since there is no correlation between what he has ever said and reality. This war is over in the sense of the consequence of it. Well, that's not really true. The possibility of there being a favorable outcome for America and Israel is over. Now, it was over before they attacked. I must have said it 100 times that there is no positive outcome possible, and many, many negative. Iran another time. We knew that to be the case, and that is the reality, and it cannot be overcome. Now, this war goes on, and ultimately Iran is going to devastate Israel. And they're going to do it not with a nuclear bomb, but with 4 million troops. That's what the prophets have said. So here we are. And it is, of course, happening. And it was Israel that can largely be blamed for instigating their own demise. They're the ones that were convinced that a decapitation strike would cause regime change, and that a blitzkrieg kind of aerial bombardment would cause Iran to fold, and they would relinquish their uranium and capitulate their missiles just to stop the bombing. And Israel was wrong about everything, just as they were on 10/7. Israel's intelligence capacity is kaput, and its government's morality and ability to think cogently is kaput. Israel is checkmated as a nation.
Yeah, I just have to wonder the intelligence on, or lack thereof, on this idea of them not understanding how Iran was going to use the Strait of Hormuz to its absolute fullest. You know, their ability to control the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, did Israel think that we could stop their mining? Did the United States think that just their total air power would keep them, from being able to attack civilian ships in the Strait of Hormuz to shut it down? Because that's the stranglehold.
Ego causes people to do really foolish things, and Netanyahu and Trump are egomaniacs, and they both believed that they were so much better, stronger, more capable, smarter, everything than the Iranians, that they could impose their will on the Iranians, and all they had to do was to bomb them, and the Iranians would surrender to the superior nature of Netanyahu and Trump. 90 million people don't bow like that, particularly when they have a unifying religion. And there's never been a case where you could bomb people into capitulation with the bombing power. The bombing power does not get the nation that they are bombing to love them. And regime change is something that the U.S. and the Mossad have failed at every single attempt. And every single attempt, they've made a very bad situation worse. It is the hallmark of the CIA. And every time they do it, people die. I've studied regime change operations for the last 30 years. And I can tell you that to get regime change, you have to have a number of characteristics. And none of those existed in Iran, which is why I said it's impossible. What the Mossad is saying, what the CIA may be saying, what Donald Trump and Netanyahu are saying, what is being posted on X is absolutely impossible. You have to have at least 3.5% to 5% of the population in support of it. And the biggest rallies this time around were a tiny fraction of 1%. Second, at a distinct minority, the opposing group must have a unifying something that they are moving towards. It can't be just we hate you. It has to be we love this, as was the case with the Nazis and the Bolsheviks. You have to have a unifying cause to be switching to, not just something you hate and are against. That didn't exist in Iran. And number three, at a very small minority, the only way that a regime change operation succeeds is if the rioters are hugely more vicious than the government. The government of the Islamic Republican Guards is much more vicious than the civilians that are uprising. And so that's not going to work. And then the fourth thing that we have come to recognize since then is that to have regime change under all of these circumstances, you're not going to have successful regime change that is prompted by an outside nation. It's going to be destructive. And in the case of Iran, most of the protesters that were armed against the government were armed in a backdoor deal between the United States, CIA, and the Kurds. And so the numbers that are attributed to Iran killing protesters in the 40 to 50,000s are completely wrong. The numbers are probably in the 4,000 range, and most of them told you that was going to happen. And you're not going to get a country that has endured 20 years of sanctions to give up their enriched uranium just because you want them to. Not going to happen. The removal of sanctions is not going to cause a country to give up that which they endured 20 years of sanctions to create. So no one was thinking. And the fact of the matter is, no one was thinking about the fact that, I guess Trump said, that he keeps claiming that Iran would have destroyed Israel if he wasn't president. They'd have a bomb if he wasn't president. And if you don't like the war, you must want Iran to have a bomb. The fact of the matter is, idiot, Iran didn't have a bomb before you went to war with them. And now that after you've gone to war with them, it's highly likely that Iran either has or will have a bomb. So you're the catalyst for the bomb, not the catalyst to keep them from having a bomb. They were their own catalyst to keep themselves from having a bomb. They had 20 years that at any time they could have developed a bomb if they'd wanted to. What they wanted to was debate Israel and the United States into doing this because they were smarter than the United States and Israel, and they recognized that this is how it would play out, and it has played out exactly as they had thought. So that's my assessment. Although I'm not, I'm not a professor in a fancy suit.
It just really hits home to the egomaniacal nature of this war, because the dry run for this thing on Iran was the Houthis, and we lost to the Houthis. We had a carrier group that was going to, clear off,
unleash hell like never been unleashed before on the Houthis. We were going to drive those Houthis into surrender, and it
who
was
are
the
not
US
a
Navy
significant
that
force
surrendered.
in the area. They're not the full population of the
They're the
combined,
clown face of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
They're great dancers.
They are good dancers, though. Those Houthis, man. They are really. I've never seen anybody dance with guns and knives the way they can, and they are.
Right.
They are the clown face of Islam. That they certainly are entertaining. We lost to the Houthis. Yeah, the United States lost to the Taliban. The United States lost to the Shia militias in Iraq. The United States lost to the Viet Cong. The United States has lost every war. The whole thing is just nothing but propaganda and disastrous results. America is toast. Oh, goodness. The Bible has no original manuscripts. Okay. This is the skeptic, and he wants to irritate Christians. The fact is so much more complicated than what he has to say. The oldest ancient manuscripts confirming anything dated into 1000 to 3000 BCE happens to be the Torah, Prophets, and Psalms. With the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have a more complete and accurate, comprehensive array of ancient texts that has ever been discovered for anything in the world by a gargantuan. I mean, there's just nothing that compares to it. The second best preserved ancient manuscript happens to be Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. And there are, in the range of 1/1000th of 1%, the number of old transcripts of it. I mean, this is by a chasm so far beyond anything that has ever been experienced. Now, this is true for the Torah, Prophets, and Psalms, and we can show that even with the Masoretic text that dates to the 11th century, their copyists were accurate to one word and 14 on average. And the 1 word and 14, typically the differences were minor, plural or singular, different stem, just pretty minor things. The story with the Christian New Testament, though, is really it's a completely different thing. There are only 69 manuscripts versus 1,000 on the Dead Sea Scrolls that are much older, but there's only 69 pre-Constantine manuscripts. After Constantine, the manuscripts are so free as to be unusable. Free means people wrote whatever they wanted to write, particularly Eusebius. Egypt, which wasn't where any of these stories actually played out. And there are more discrepancies than there are words in the text. Some 300,000 discrepancies and 184,000 word text. The Christian New Testament is a complete mess. And if you're going to present your case against Christianity, you really ought to have done your homework and been able to say this, this perfect preservation is impossible to verify. Well, an imperfect, grossly imperfect, 300,000 variants and 184,000 words isn't something that you're going to say, I'm trying to show that it's imperfect. At that point, you're showing that it's an absolute waste of breath. It is a waste of ink. You just throw it away at this point. That's how errant it is. But he doesn't know that. And he doesn't know that different books for an entirely different purpose. One contradicts the other. And the history of the manuscripts is hugely important, and he doesn't know either. And so, if you're going to make a claim, you're going to pretend to be the smart guy in the room. Then you've got to be smarter than the people that you're communicating to. Now, he may be smarter than any Christian. That's not saying much, and he may be smarter than 99% of the people on X, and that's not saying much. But you really ought not mean, having read, claims of perfect preservation are impossible to verify. No, it's absolutely possible to verify that the transmission of the Christian New Testament was dismal, was reprehensible. Again, more contradictions and errors than there are words.
Yeah, I have to wonder, just my mind goes to, we know old Paul Shaul was demon-possessed. We know that Muhammad was demon possessed, and I just wonder if Hasatan is like, at this time the Christianity thing's kind of taken off, not doing so great. This time we're not writing anything down. Okay, we'll go 200 years, we won't write a damn thing down, and we'll see if we can get some traction with this one. I just wonder if that was the thought process.
No, in Christianity, of course, it was the oldest manuscripts date to the early 2nd century. The earliest codex did, so that's 100 years after the fact. So they did write things down. It's just that none of the you couldn't have an eyewitness write what occurred because Jesus is a myth and didn't exist. So it's pretty hard to have an eyewitness write what occurred. But of course, the Gospels are not eyewitness accounts. Two of them were people who weren't even in the country at the time and didn't speak the language and wrote based on what Paul told them to write. And the last two were written almost 100 years later by people whose name we don't even know. So it's just, the whole thing's a farce.
Yeah, it makes me think with both examples, with Christianity and its hundreds of thousands of text variants, and Islam with its couple hundred years of passing down mouth to ear. It's just, with both examples, it's a very deadly game of fan fiction telephone.
Yes, it is. Yeah, fan fiction telephone. Yeah, it's religion is a really horrible thing, and the reason that they are told that there is a perfect version and their text is inerrant is because they don't want anybody questioning it. And in both cases, with the Christian New Testament and with the Quran, there is absolute evidence of a cover-up in this regard. Jerome wrote the Pope and said, we have an argument that we can't defeat because everyone that wants to challenge us on a conclusion cites a different Old Latin text. And there's so many variations of them. One can't say, well, your text is right and my text is wrong. So the only way we can solve this problem of having so many disagreeing texts is that we need to create one official version and destroy all of the others. And so Jerome specifically went about the task of blending the old Latin versions of what was originally written in Greek in the New Testament together. And when he did, he destroyed every old Latin text that he could come up with. So he destroyed them all. And then he had presented his Vulgate.
As perfected, yeah. Man, I might have to start playing music. John, can you whistle?
I can, but I just don't know how I'll come through the mic.
There we go.
All right. So yeah, we're frozen on this end again. We're having
Okay,
real
here-
problems with our.
Are you back?
We're back. We're
Back up. So the Texas, so the Vulgate is a whole project, and we have so many variations that we have no credibility. So we're going to eliminate all the old variations and blend them into one that we're going to say is authorized, and that's the Latin Vulgate. In the Quran, it's exactly the same thing. That there were no written copies of anything until about 70, 80 years after Muhammad, and then they differed by so much that you couldn't have a credible religion. So in Damascus, they said, all right, well, find everything that you can find, and we'll destroy everything that's in conflict, and we'll have one official version. But of course, the truth always leaks out, and that's why they found the Sana mosque archives that date to the earliest period, and they don't agree with today's modern Qurans because they weren't able to destroy all of them. And the same thing is true with the finds in Alexandria Greek of the Christian New Testament. They proved that the text is not anywhere close to what it originally was, and so the liars always get caught. And the hope for the liars is
enough time has passed that the propaganda has time to take hold.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other religion that we need to impugn. This is the Black Plague. But it's a standard religiousness. What they're trying to, the voice of the rabbis here is that they want you to say whether you're Jewish or non-Jewish, help us amplify the truth. Anti-Zionist Jews are not a fringe, that is true. Anti-Zionist Jews are not a fringe. They're the majority of Rabbinical Judaism. So help us break through the media noise and make our voice heard. And so what they are promoting is that Judaism is anti-Zionist. The Judaism does not believe in the state of Israel. They don't want a state of Israel until their Messiah comes. Well, their Messiah is part of Judaism because there is no return. Dowd was the Messiah of Yahowah, and because Dowd is returning, he is not returning as the Messiah. He's returning as king. There's a huge difference between those two things. And so in Judaism, they're so fooled into this. And in fact, they gave birth to the religion of Christianity because of this lie, that the lie that has caused Jews to be so subjugated over the years. So they're just anti-Zion. But it's Yahowah who created the term Zion. It means signs posted along the way. He tells you that they're essential. So for Rabbinical Judaism to be anti-Zion, and for Yahowah to be pro-Zion, it means one of the two is lying. Boy, I don't think it takes a PhD to say, if God says, I created Zion, and the rabbis say that that Zionism is incompatible with Judaism, then guess what? Yahowah.
Yeah, I'm going with Yahowah on this one as well.
Yeah, I think I would go with Yahowah. But it's a serious problem. If Jews would listen, there's no hope. There's no saving. God hates rabbis. God hates this Black Plague. Everyone who is dressed as a Orthodox Jew pursuing the Haredi strain of Judaism is going to be sent to Sheol. That is just a fact. Nothing is going to stop that. God despises them. They claim that they speak for him, and he hates them with a passion. And so nothing you say or anybody can say, including Yahowah, is going to have any effect on this Black Death. But it is important for Jews who are not already destroyed by the lies of Judaism to recognize that they are frauds, that they're money-grubbing, despicable frauds and parasites.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out their angle on this. I understand that this is not a new thing. They're just all of a sudden not saying, "Hey, we are anti-Zionism." The idea of Zionism being the Israeli state or whatever, because they are the largest benefits of the nation of Israel, right?
Yes.
So beneficiaries of it. And the other thing is why you see rabbis even in New York going out and saying, "Hey, we're pro-Palestine," and this whole 9 yards. What is their angle saying that they're not Zionists? I don't understand, other than, "Hey, kill us last, Muslims." I mean, I don't understand what their angle is.
You're trying to convey the idea that a religious person has a rational justification for what they believe. Am I hearing you correctly? Did you get enough sleep last night?
Sorta. Yeah, that's
Yeah. You told me you had a cup of coffee before the show.
right. Several.
Maybe you need two. What is the justification for Christians killing their God? Celebrating the torture of their God. What is the justification for that?
Right. There's right.
All right. So is there any
They
justification
got me again.
for any
Sucked into
religion?
again.
No. What is the justification for a Muslim believing that if they are killing Jews, that they're going to go to heaven and be satiated with an endless stream of perpetual virgins? Why would anybody that has got two brain cells that are functioning and could actually communicate with one another believe that? Why would these parasites who are completely dependent in the in Israel on the government coddling them be opposed to the government that coddles them? There's no explanation for it. Why would they call themselves Torah observant when the Torah says that God hates the religious? God destroys the religious. So the prophets have show that every person who is religious will be gone in less than 7 years. So no correlation between reason and faith. No evidence either. They call it faith because they don't know. No one calls religion no.
Right.
Vivid. Netanyahu. Attacking Iran is like removing your cancer from your body. If you don't remove it, the cancer will kill you. 90 million people of Iran are not a cancer. I wish they were not Islamic, but the Persians were weak after banging heads with Rome. And so when Islam was conceived, they were so ruthless. The first Muslims they were told, you can go kill anybody you want to kill. You can rob, you can rape, you can enslave. You get to keep 80% of what you steal. And they were vicious. And the Persians were weak at that time, and they fell victim. And unfortunately, the country is mostly Muslim. I wish it weren't so, but it is so. But they are just 90 million among 2 billion Muslims. Well, I view Islam as among the greatest threats to the world, and I know more about it than anybody on the planet. I've written 5 volumes to show that it is a death cult, to prove that it is a death cult, and it should be quarantined. The fact is that you can't isolate Iran and say that Iran is the cancer. No, it's not true. Iran's not the cancer. Islam is the cancer. And, Israel is trying to play nice with Islam while pretending that Iran is the cancer. That is just functionally stupid. It's grossly inaccurate. And if you misdiagnose your enemy will own you. And that's the case of Netanyahu. And that's the case of Vivid, who promotes these lies. He knows nothing of Islam. He's afraid to even say the word. And he is a clear and present danger to the survival of Israel, as is Netanyahu. 3 Trumps walk into the garden to have a negotiation on ending the war on Iran. One Trump says, I think Iran should surrender. The other Trump says, absolutely. The Trump is just too smart and too tough for us. And the third Trump says, it should have happened already. So let's just announce the surrender. And the Trump says, but I'd rather bomb you some more because I really like killing people. But the Trump says, you've killed too many people. It's time for a solution. So the third Trump says, so yeah, Iran surrenders so that you don't have to bomb them anymore. I know you'd like to, but let's just end the war. And so the 3 Trumps, they go and they have their confab and they report that and the press laps it up and prints it. But
sounds
can you
a
imagine?
bit like the rabbis. Sounds a bit like the rabbis arguing with God, right? We can outvote you. We can outvote God.
Yeah, and so 3 Trumps is does away with it. But can you imagine the demons going on in that head? And as I say, I think I understand why he poops in his pants.
Right. Absolute terror.
This is the stuff he puts out. Do you think maybe he has an ego?
Right. Well, he likes to sign. He likes to put his signature on anything he can, and he just thinks he's right up there with them.
George Washington was an egomaniac too. I mean, he had people call him Your Majesty, and yeah, he was. The reality is, he lost every battle in that war until.
Brent showed up.
It cut off again for you, Kevin.
Yeah. No, we're saying the same thing.
Washington D.C.
He's back.
Land deal.
It's a shame we missed all that, but
so we froze.
Yeah,
this is just not going to work unless we can figure out a better way to do this. It's really
John and I were going to do our own show. We were going to do a show that was kind of.
You're going to talk about this right now? It's great. Okay.
Well, I don't know. We were going to do a little mystery science. A little mystery science theater kind of show that like had you doing Luminaries episodes on the screen and then us doing commentary about what you were talking about as they were going. Oh,
really?
You know.
Okay. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like
this is just a little bit about what that is. A little bit about what this was about. Yeah.
A comedic take on the Luminaries?
Well, not necessarily on the Luminaries, but just as kind of individuals watching your programs and making a commentary, there'd be probably a little bit of a comedic twist to it. I think it'd be inevitable if you have Kevin and I working together on something.
Oh, I think it would be fun. Yeah, I can tell you some of the material's pretty dark. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Even when they call it Luminaries. We're always looking for the humor in it. That's why with goddamn religion, every time we could, we figured out a way to work.
Well, you have to, with it just being so nonsensical. With the
it's such dark material that if you don't laugh at it, the stupidity of it once in a while, it just kind of eats you up inside. You know, it's there's only so much that we can bear sometimes, and so far as all of that negative emotion and attitude that comes with all the garbage that we see.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig's back.
Well, I think we've just unfroze. So let's do one more, and we'll just call it a day because this is. You might as well do the commentary. We'd have the frozen Craig, and you guys could do the commentary. In fact, I think maybe that's the best thing is that I'll sit here and just be frozen, and you guys can comment on these posts.
I don't know.
Makes perfect sense to me. This is the Donald Trump having the Capital One accounts closed due to money laundering. So the first thing I did is I said, "Oh, come on!" First of all, Capital One is near and dear to me. I know the founder. I know the mindset of the company. and they have a warm spot in my heart for them. They met me when I needed financing because I really wanted to have a credit card partner when I was starting Value America, even before we went public. Rich Fairbanks came up to my office, which was in a shoebox at the time. Multiple times we came very, very close to doing a deal, and then I had a couple of people that were on the periphery of what I was trying to do that turned out to be scum that tried to carve out their own little deal. And Fairbanks just says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get involved with this now that they've muddied the water." But nonetheless, I still viewed him as a genuinely fine man of great character. And so when it's his company that says this, I can tell you they've done their due diligence. He's a very cautious man who is exceedingly thoughtful in everything that he does. And so just knowing the nature of his company, I knew that if it were true,
Well, it has to be true. It absolutely has to be true because this is evidence presented in federal court. No attorney is gonna show up and try to lie about that. Oh, our story is that it was money laundering to get out of this political idea. No attorney is gonna lie about that in federal court.
No, no, you'll be disbarred.
Mm-hmm.
And the investigation flagged multiple transactions, and they are money laundering, and he got caught. And it won't be the only bank that does this. It's just the first. Yeah. And of course, it's Trump, being the a-hole that he is, that threatened and actually sued Capital One as this began. And Capital One says, "Yeah, great. You want to sue us? Then
whoops.
We're
just going to tell the truth."
Yeah, they brought the receipts.
Yeah, we brought the receipts. It's like every time now that Trump sues somebody, the only ones that he is able to get a favorable outcome are the ones where he has the FCC or FTC or SEC in his administration as the godfather over a criminal enterprise, threatening to preclude any merger that these companies are seeking, and while threatening to sue these companies for all manner of alleged crimes with the full wealth of the U.S. government against them, which is very difficult to overcome, where the U.S. government has total sway in the court system. So he's using blackmail to render favorable settlements, not because they go to court. The ones that he can't bully the company into or person into capitulation that move towards the court, they all pursue the saying, "Great, then we have total right to discovery, and you have no right to refuse discovery. So we're going to demand, and you're going to have to dish up all of the evidence." And discovery to Donald Trump is like his approach to the Epstein files is how allergic Donald Trump is to discovery. So it puts Trump in a position that he is absolutely petrified. And so those cases get thrown out. They don't ever go to trial. They get thrown out. Although there are places where companies and people would like to see them all the way through because of what they would ultimately do to Trump.
Yeah, and money laundering, this is huge. This is like Watergate kind of huge as far as presidential scandal goes, right? And yet it pales in comparison to his other crimes, the crimes we know about.
Yes,
it's
it is the though it is the way that the federal government has always managed to try and convict the mob bosses and the mafia. And so racketeering, money laundering are the charges they always bring up against them. Income tax evasion as a result to the shell companies is how they operate. So he has been caught in the primary Godfather game.
Yeah, that's like RICO law, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it's specifically designed since they find it difficult to get evidence on crime bosses.
Sleeping with the fishes, dead men tell no tales.
We're done again, Rich. We might as well just call this and
Okay.
tell the guys. You tell the guys that they can. Okay, I'm going to say you guys can end the show or continue any way that you can or want. I'm going to bow out. There's no reason to torture myself or anybody with the constant breaking up. So we got a real issue that we have to fix somehow. But thank you for being part of it. I appreciate your patience as we have Frozen Craig. I even have I have my ice cold shirt on. Maybe I'll have to wear a warmer shirt and I won't freeze quite as often. But always great to see you, John. Thank you. Looking forward to the Jeopardy production. Hope you get Dawn to join you on one of on the podcasts. She can hide behind you. That's that.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just have her off to the side, or have like a little cartoon of her up in the corner or something like that.
Yeah, cartoon. Yeah, my wife is very good at creating cartoons of me. They're frozen too, so maybe that's a theme that we're going to go with. Anyway, it's really been well, we've got just a second. It's a really frightening time for the world, because what we're watching right now is Trump is the scared rat. He is the drowning rat, unable to extricate himself from his Iranian mess. And at this point, he only has one option. Well, I guess he has two. He can go back to the Memorandum of Understanding and surrender, capitulating to Iran's demands, and end the conflict that way. Or he can do what are hinting that he's prepared to do, which is a ground invasion. Now, I don't see the ground invasion, because to do a ground invasion, you would have to mobilize upwards of 1 million troops, and you'd have to position them in the very countries that Iran is targeting with the missiles. So I don't see how that is even feasible to do that. But that's his other option, and frankly, if he does that, then it's really over for him. There would be no recovery from a land invasion of Iran. It'd be devastating for the United States and for the world. But we'll see how just a matter of conniption fits. Everybody that reports on the White House now is saying that it happens multiple times a day, where he'll just throw shit against the wall and scream at everybody, and can't understand why Iran won't capitulate to him. It's a really evil one, this one.
Yeah, combination of crazy ego and sunk cost.
Yeah, and
it's Satan.
Demons swimming in his head. Yeah, that's the issue of war is sunk costs. Is that once a nation starts a war, like the proxy war against Russia using Ukraine, you have sunk. There was one post that I was hoping that we would be able to cover, and it's a fellow that is hearing from insiders in the U.S. government talking about the number of men who have been killed in the Iranian proxy war with Russia, and that the outcome of that war is already determined. Ukraine has nothing that no cards left to play. And they've lost, upwards of 1.5 million men, and that all that the U.S. is offering is propaganda to try to create the impression that it's Ukraine that is winning, and that this is a war for democracy, when the exact opposite is true. And so they're pleading with people to please come to your senses. The truth about this proxy war is the antithesis of what you're being told, just as the truth of the Iranian war is the antithesis of what Trump says. The only thing we're good at these days is lying. All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you putting up with the frozen Craig, and we'll be with you again tomorrow. Good day.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.